all-new Yamaha V6 Offshore F350. It's a featherweight knockout, the lightest 350 horsepower outboard on the water, exhilarating boating and incredible control in a powerfully light design. The Yamaha V6 Offshore F350.
Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine. It's May 30th. These are your headlines. An influx of bunker out in western Long Island Sound has fueled some XL striper fishing, which has been awesome. If you're looking for weak fish, you might find them up inside Narragansett Bay. And the best black sea bass fishing going on right now is in Massachusetts waters. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
Before we begin, we've got a few news items for you guys. The first one is just another reminder about the Fishing for the Mission 22 Sea Bass Tournament, which kicks off on June 1st and goes through the weekend, this weekend. You can go to fishingforthemission22.org for all the details. There's several tiers for sign up. So, it's hard to tell you exactly what it costs, but depending on your level of commitment, you're just helping out a great cause. The cause is the Mission 22 charity, which puts all their money behind helping veterans with depression, and with special emphasis on preventing veteran suicide. The 22 in Mission 22 stands for the 22 veterans that we lose every day in this country to suicide, which is a staggering and devastating statistic. So all that money that you're putting into this tournament is going directly to helping veterans who are dealing with tough times. And how can you go wrong with that? The tournament is going to give away over $6,000 in prizes. There's also an additional $22,000 in possible cash prizes. Those $22,000 will come in the form of people catching tagged sea bass. They tagged 22 sea bass, released them in various places around Buzzards Bay over this past week. And anyone who catches them is going to get $1,000 cash. And so in addition to that, you could win any of the other great prizes they have. And you can get all the details of what the prizes are, where all the festivities are taking place, and all that other stuff by going to fishingforthemission22.org. So I just want to remind you guys about that great cause and an awesome tournament. And hopefully some of you guys will get in on it, and hopefully one of you will win it. Next thing, we're going to check in with Jenni Ackerman. This is her 50th installment of Open Boat. Here she is.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat, episode 50. Let's go. 50, we made it. So we're here, we're at Striper Quest. We're here with Captain Chuck Manny of the Timon, and Chuck, he catches giant bass like every single day, basically. A lot of fish too. You're all over the place.
Yeah, it's been good.
So Captain Chuck is going to give you a little bit rundown for beginners out there on the boat, because if you go on his boat, you're going to catch a 50-pounder, and if you're a first timer,
I wish.
You're going to need to know those proper steps on how to fight that fish.
Okay. Well, the biggest key to fighting a big striped bass is to be chill. Just chill out. Everybody gets on the ride and they try to yank it in. Don't try to beat up the fish and be stronger than the fish. Use the reel. The reel is made. That's what it's made for. So you just get in the back of the boat and just chill, and you'll get the feel of when he's pulling drag, when he's not pulling drag, when he's not pulling drag. Kind of lean. I got a lot of fat here. I lean back, get a little line, lean back, get a little line, nice and smooth. Never herky-jerky, right? Especially with circle hooks, never herky-jerky. And just be super chill, and you'll get that fish of a lifetime in every time, trust me.
Perfect. Can we get one more woo for episode 50 of Open Boat?
Woo! 5-0, baby, 5-0.
Thank you, Chuck.
You're welcome.
We had quite a few entries come in from this Memorial Day weekend. We had 2 sea robins, first from Dan Solomon of South Setauket, Long Island, weighing in at 2.8 pounds. Then Leroy Myers from Connecticut with a 2.35-pound bird. Next, we had 2 entries for the porgy category. First, from Jerry Tomatos, weighing in at 2.32 pounds. Then Anthony Savino once again hitting the board with a scup of 2.06 pounds. The weak fish category is getting filled up with 3 new entries. We had our first New Jersey entry by Pete James with a tide runner of 5.11 pounds. And then there's Kyle Kraus from the North Fork of Long Island with a 5.55 pounder. And from Connecticut, Fernando Leger had a 6.20 pounder. So the leaderboard looks like this. Anthony Savino with 23 points, Frank Shea with 10, and tied with Frank is Dan Solomon with 10. Just a reminder, for your chance to win the grand prize, Steigercraft powered by Yamaha, and the other great prizes, you need to be a subscriber to the magazine and use a 2024 entry form filled out completely, available at thefisherman.com/contests. It was another busy week in the Coastal Kayak Clash. We saw the biggest bass of the year entered by New Jersey's Bob Wagner at 48.5 inches, who also topped the bluefish category with a 37-inch gator. Two Nice Fluke also made the board, a 24-incher landed by Long Island's William Mabanta, and a 25.25-incher boated by New Jersey's Fluke diehard Gregory Vergere. Rhode Island yacker Todd Trezone dropped two leaderboard-worthy fish this week with a 19.75-inch weak fish and a 12.5-inch porgy. The top of the leaderboard looks like this. We have Mike Radzewinski in third place with 5 points, Bob Wagner in second place with 6 points, and CKC All-Star Justin Oser sitting at the top with 9 points. To be part of the Coastal Kayak Clash, you must be a Fisherman subscriber. Get all the details at thefisherman.com/contests.
Last thing, of course, is the giveaway, which is ongoing, and I have finally painted the plug we're going to give away. It's going to be a bright chartreuse top with a white belly, and it's a color that I really like to fish. It's not one that I have made a lot of, so hopefully whoever wins will put it to good use. You guys know the drill by now. It's got to be you holding your fish. You send it in to me at danderson@thefisherman.com or text it to the number on the screen, and just give me the pertinent details. Tell me roughly where it was caught, how big the fish was, what you caught it on, stuff like that. Submit it. Tell me you want to be in the contest, and we'll get you in the contest. We'll get you in the report. We might even get you in the magazine, and who knows? You might walk away with an awesome plug. Now we're going to move over to the fishing reports, and starting to get some news of some really big striped bass now coming out of Maine. So we're starting to see those, XL stripers moving up into Maine now, and you're going to see that reflected, going down through New Hampshire and into northern Massachusetts. And I think we're going to see that's reflected right here in James Jewkes' report. Here he is.
Spent a lot of time on the water. Made a few stops over the weekend to pay my respects. Just very busy. Hope yours was well also. As far as the fishing is concerned, striped bass are cooking along. Plenty of fish moving into the estuaries. Guys catching out in the ocean front as well. Clams, worms, mackerel. All the bait guys are doing well. Plug guys like myself, even doing a little wetsuiting early. It's been good. It hasn't been gangbusters. The numbers of fish, to me anyways, and to some others, is very low. We did get some size. I had a few fish, 15, 18 pounds. My fishing partner's the same, except my one fishing partner, Sam, had 2 fish. One was 40 pounds, the other one was around 36. Really nice fish. As far as the freshwater is concerned, Dave, it's steady as she goes. Nothing out of the ordinary. Pike guys are still finding some. I did notice that we have some guys that like to do some catfishing, and they're out there at night, so hard to get any good pictures of those guys out there because they hide their spots just as well as the surf casters. But yeah, you just got to get out and get them. As far as the plug guys are concerned and the stripers, we've been getting them on soft plastics, needlefish, Dannies, you name it, they've been hitting. You just got to find the right pocket of fish to get in there. If you're struggling a little bit, stop at your local tackle shop, such as a Surfland. those guys could always use your business, and they're always willing to help out no matter what you're doing. As far as everything else goes, Dave, I think that's about it from here. Oceanfront, let me double check. Estuaries, check. Yeah, even the fly guys. I talked to my buddy Johan, and he's done pretty well. He's working a new spot he's struggling with, but that's part of a new spot. So everything else, the poaching and the mishandling of fish is driving me nuts. I'm not going to go too much of a rant, but, take care of those fish, please. All right, Dave, till next time.
The next place I'm hearing about really good striped bass fishing is basically from like Scituate down to Plymouth. There's been some good fish around Manamay. There's been some good fish off of Minot Ledge. It's been good for the surf guys and the boat guys, which is great to hear. The boat guys have been doing most of their damage with live eels, but they're also getting them on the dock, and I think there's been a few flutter spoon fish taken up there as well. Surf guys have been doing it with needlefish, big metal lips, and big soft plastics. A lot of nice sized fish in the area. I haven't heard of anything gigantic, but fish in the low to mid 40-inch class have been about the top range, and a lot of fish, right around slot size. So good place to go if you're looking for some stripers. Crossing the canal over onto the Cape itself, we're still seeing some big largemouth bass being caught. Saw another fish in the 6-pound class reported this week, and I've heard about a few other nice fish. Striped bass wise, on the north side, on the bay side, we're still hearing about good fishing out there. The Brewster Flats had a lot of action this week, and a lot of fly guys out there cashing in on that. I have not heard a specific report from Barnstable Harbor, but right about now is about the right time. So probably some decent fish around Barnstable Harbor as well. And I know there's still some of those fish running those bayside beaches as well. Sounds like that bite is cooling off, but still some good sized fish out there for the guy who doesn't mind putting in the time and the footwork to find them. Heading out onto the outer Cape, not really hearing about any fish running the beaches out there yet. There are some fish up inside the estuaries, like Pleasant Bay, like Nauset Inlet. So those, right now, it's mostly fish in the back, but as you turn the corner, kind of getting up more toward Woods Hole, start to see a lot more striped bass along the shorelines there. Some really nice fish along the Elizabeths as well. And it sounds like a good number of stripers pulled up around Martha's Vineyard this week as well. And it seems like all sizes have been represented there. There's been some really big fish out on middle ground from what I've heard. Sea bass wise, it seems like Nantucket Sound is decent. Vineyard Sound is very good. And Buzzards Bay has been the best, just in time for that fishing for the Mission 22 tournament to roll in. So sea bass fishing has been very good. Seems like the fish are in deeper water right now, and by most accounts of the guys I've talked to, the action's been pretty darn good. Getting up closer to the canal, a few fluke around there, and sort of jumping back out toward Nantucket. Haven't heard of anyone going out to Nantucket Shoal just yet. However, a lot of the charter guys that fish there tell me that the first couple weeks of June tend to be the best. We haven't really had the greatest weather, so that may be contributing to why I haven't heard of anyone even making a scouting trip out there. But as soon as we get some, flat seas and some consistent weather, I think you will see the fluke action firing up pretty good out on the shoals. For now, there's been a few fish on Mashney Flats. There's been a few fish around some of the other places in that basic region, out around the Elizabeths as well. Also, again, good sea bass action all throughout that area. Stripers piling in right now. Water temps are a little lower than they usually are at this time of the year, which is a good thing for striper fishermen. It means that those stripers have an opportunity to stick around a little bit longer. But there has not been a lot of bunker around, so these fish are relating to other types of bait, or they're relating to tidal areas. Places where we have good tidal movement is attracting these fish so they can take advantage of whatever bait fish are around. Another thing that has been happening is fish are taking advantage of herring runs a little bit more this year than they have in the past. So those are some different tactics you can use to find some of these better fish. Canal had a good week. Had one great day and had a bunch of good days. For a little bit more on that, let's check in now with East End Eddie. Here he is.
Good morning, Dave, ladies and gentlemen. We got an east-dropping tide behind me here in the world-famous Cape Cod Canal. The water temperature's in the 60s now, so that's good. Gets better every day. The fishing's been good, not great. It's not as good as it was last year at this time, but that was epic last year. But it has been great for some guys, like Breaking Bob Ware, who we call him Breaking Bob because he has a nose for finding and breaking fish. And he caught a 28-pounder early in the week with a white fish lab. Then a few days later, he caught a 26-pounder with a green mac Hurley canal killer. Both those fish measured out to 42 inches. And then Kenny Nevins caught a 35-inch with a green fish lab. And he caught that at the end of a west tide. And the boys of summer were out. Hollywood Petrarca and Paulie the Painter Gravina both caught 35-inch stripers using white swatters around mid-canal. Mid-canal's seen a lot of action. And Bill and the Grove Prados caught a fat 34-inch around the same area. That was a well-fed fish. And so Dwight Cochran comes down from Maine. He stays at Bourne Scenic Park. His son comes down with him sometimes. And he got a nice fish the other day with a black savage who was bouncing off the bottom. So it's been good. It's just spotty here and there. But so there's other fish in the canal too. There's fish on the bottom. Its season is open now for black sea bass and summer flounder. It's been open for a while for tautog, and there's scup there too. So those are part-time residents of the canal, different species. So Jeff Hopwood, who owns Mako's, always puts out a patriotic message on his sign out front on Memorial Day to honor our veterans. He's a great guy and always does the right thing to help veterans and our active military. So this year his message says, "To live in hearts we left behind is not to die." And that's nice because, you know, without the brave men and women fighting for our country, we couldn't live in the greatest nation on the face of the earth. So whenever you're going to help a veteran, do what you can. So my tip of the week is that I love carabiners. Do a little show and tell here. There's a carabiner. I'm sure most of you know what it is. It just opens like that on a spring. And I use them to attach fishing gear to my surf belt, to my surf bag, and to my bike. And it's nice if you want it, you just clip it off, and it's very convenient. I've been using them for years. So, but just be careful when you close it, because sometimes this arm on a swing, it looks like it's closed, but it isn't, because it gets stuck right here. So just make sure it's closed so you don't lose any fishing gear. So until next time, catch a big one.
Heading out of the west end, kind of going up the thoroughfare of Buzzards Bay, there's striped bass in all of the estuaries from Buttermilk Bay all the way out to the Westport River. Water temps are coming up in these back water areas, so those fish are probably going to start to make their way out soon. But I mean, even as recently as yesterday, still seeing solid fish up in shallow water, up in these backwater estuaries, and I think that's going to continue for at least another week, even with this beautiful weather that we're having. And good sea bass action out in the western part of Buzzards Bay, and still some tog around as well. And that's what I have for you guys in Massachusetts this week.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites.
Crossing over into Rhode Island, we'll start things off with an East Bay report with TJ Kopecky.
Thanks, Steve. Hey guys, a little report for you from a little bit of East Bay of Rhode Island, heading into Mount Hope Bay, and getting up into some of the Sakonnet River on the Tiverton side. We're going to start off on the Providence River. Had an outing this weekend, and I got to tell you, it was a very finicky bite on bass. We got a couple of bass on top water. We didn't get too many because we really couldn't figure out what they were feeding on. We were throwing everything at them, and the only thing that we didn't throw at them would be like an epoxy jig or a deadly dick or something like for a small bait. And which I thought about it after the trip, and I called my cousin Chris, and I'm like, hey, you know, we should have used something really small because we believed they were feeding on some really small bait. We couldn't find out. We couldn't see what they were feeding on, but there was some big bass slurping. There weren't pogies. We couldn't snag any pogies. It was just small bait, and those fish were up inside of the Providence River probably all morning on Sunday and Monday. So I mean, people were catching fish, you know, but probably not as much as they wanted to. And I just think because they were just feeding on small bait and they were very finicky. Moving into the Warren-Barrington area, I had a couple of outings in the mornings, fishing the Barrington River in my normal spots along Matheson Street, and I did well with schoolies, and I gotta say there's a lot of really small fish in there right now. I'm talking diaper stripers from anywhere from 12 inches, I think I caught was my smallest, up to about 25 inches. And I did see some bigger fish following my plug. I mainly used a white topwater plug, and I used anywhere from a 3 to a 5 inch paddle tail in white to catch fish. So, I mean, there are fish there, don't get me wrong. And it wasn't the size that I was looking for or hoping to be up in that river. I did see a lot of bait moving around, which I haven't seen in a while. So it looked mainly like they were just small peanut bunkers swimming around along the shore. And there were definitely cormorants diving on them. Not birds working on the surface, but you did on a high tide be able to see the bass moving along the grass lines. So it's not like there's a shortage of bass in there. It's just the quality of the bass that I thought that I would be catching in there is not there. But it's all a good thing still. I mean, catching fish. Moving into Maho Bay, for guys who have been to Toggin, the pilings on the bridge have been still good. And into the Sakonnet River, there's been some good spots at the broken bridge there, and Common Fence Point, but that tog fishing is going to come to an end on the 31st. So if you can get, well, probably by the time you're seeing this video on Thursday, that will be closed, or you'll have one more day left to tog fish in Rhode Island. Guys that want to get out and get fluke, I did hear a couple of reports from some of my buddies who've been fishing the mouth of the Sakonnet up near Sachet's Point, and they've been getting some small fish there. They haven't been getting keepers, but it's always a good early season spot for fluke. Is right at the mouth of these big rivers that come in from the ocean. So if you want to catch some fluke, go try those spots. You can also catch some sea bass up there. There's plenty of rocky structure, plenty of ledges that you can get sea bass onto, and but the sea bassing has been good too, way up in there. Haven't heard any good reports of anything inside of the bay for sea bass yet, and I've yet to try for them, but any day now I'm sure that there's going to be some sea bass in Maho Bay area leading over towards Prudence Island. So be on the lookout for them, and we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. There's been some bass reported also up inside the Coles River now, finally. And boy, I haven't even caught mine yet, but I've been down there watching other guys, and they have caught fish in the Coles River, talking with a bunch of people. My buddy John is catching them in the Lees River now too. So, but they're all small, just like in the Warren-Barrington rivers. I think we got a flux of just small bass that came into the bay and inundated all the rivers, and they're feeding now. So going forward for the upcoming week, I think there's still going to be lots of opportunity for striped bass, and hopefully we get some more pogies in here. Starting to see them trickle into the bay also. So that might bring in some bigger opportunities to catch some bigger fish. Also, look for fluke, look for sea bass, and we'll catch you next week, guys. Tight lines.
There does seem to be a new movement of stripers moving into the bay again, Mount Hope and Narragansett Bay proper. Seeing some really nice fish caught by kayak and boat guys fishing things like GT eels, guys fishing live eels. Again, there's not a lot of bunker around, so these fish are being forced to relate to different types of bait. Herring runs in the bay are producing fish still. And really anywhere you're finding concentrations of stripers, they tend to be pretty active. So you can get them with a flutter spoon, you can often get them with a topwater plug like the Dock or something like that. So it has been an exciting fishery. It's just been a little bit more of a frustrating fishery for a lot of the guys that have grown accustomed to being able to go up into a harbor, net some bunker, and then just go troll them around and catch big stripers along any one of these shorelines. The bunker are not there to hold the fish, and so it's made it a little bit more of a hunt and peck proposition, which isn't everybody's cup of tea. But I have seen some good ones, and it does seem like live eels and fresh bunker chunks are the two top takers of the biggest fish. So that's something that you guys can hang on to for anyone fishing up inside the bay. For a little bit more on things going on in that basic region, let's check in now with Captain Coral Aiello from Sarah Star Charters.
Hi Dave, Coral here from Sarah Star Charters with the Rhode Island Fishing Report. We're pretty much status quo here as we reach the middle of spring. There's a lot of activity and it's just really heating up. There's tons of bait out there. The pogies have definitely showed up again. They kind of disappeared for a little bit, but there's definitely reports of a lot of pogies being around. There's silver sides around, and there's also a lot of mackerel running around off Newport. The silver sides make a great opportunity to, look for birds and do a lot of topwater action, and it's a really good opportunity for fly fishermen, to spot some fish that are all over the reef, all the way down east into Sakonnet. The big bass have come out from the bay. There's still some bass up there, and people are still, doing the flutter spoons. But they have actually been out front now for about 3 weeks. I have kind of kept it on the down low because we were out there by ourselves for a while, and that was really nice. But the secret's out now. The bass are pushing out and taking up residency on the ledges. The big bass, and it's just been it's been full of life out front. So there's a lot of opportunities for fly anglers, shore anglers, and boat anglers to get on some nice fish. The bluefish have showed up again these last couple weeks in Rhode Island. Of course, they're really big, like they have been the last few years. The sea bass bite opened up recreationally a few days ago, and I heard it's been pretty good. A little spotty, but there are definitely some good opportunities to take home some nice sea bass. Personally, I haven't done any sea bass fishing yet because we're a charter boat, so it hasn't opened up for us, but we will be doing that very soon. The tog bite in the spring, it was kind of slow to start, but I heard that it just kind of exploded, and it's been really good this last few weeks. That water temperature kind of warmed up, and we hit that sweet spot a few weeks back with a 54-degree water temperature, which really turned them on to get them chewing. And I was out there today, and the water temperature was 58. So everything's pretty much heating up. Looking forward to a great season, and we're off to a really good start.
Now, crossing over the bay, over onto to the other side, we are seeing pretty good weak fish action, or we were with this past moon tide. Especially the Greenwich Bay area, and any one of those coves up along that western side of the bay has reasonable opportunity for catching a weak fish. Also been some pretty good sized bluefish in that area as well. We're going into the new moon next week, and if you look at the tide heights, there's going to be a lot of water movement taking place in Rhode Island waters everywhere, and that's probably going to be a good thing for anyone looking to cross a weak fish off their list. So you may want to keep an eye on those areas throughout all of next week when we've got those faster tides. There has been some decent striped bass action up toward Providence still. That's one of the only places where we're seeing somewhat consistent bunker, and so they are holding some bass up there. Heading out of the bay, there's been a lot more bigger fish out front. Surf guys have been cashing in. I know that there was a really good bite one night over the past week along the Narragansett shoreline, and we've seen some much bigger fish coming through. So that's exciting stuff. For a little bit more on things going on in central Rhode Island, let's check in now with Captain John Lee from JL Charters.
Hey, it's John Lee, JL Charters, Point Judith, Rhode Island. I'm actually just sitting on the pilot boat. We're waiting for a ship that's coming out of Long Island Sound. But I ran across today fishing. I went to the island by myself for some fluke, and it was a difficult bite. It was a wind tide. It wasn't matching up. It was almost like you were at a standstill, yet you were using 10 ounces. So, but I managed 6 good fish, nothing over 6 pounds, a handful of throwbacks. There was no bycatch. I had no spiny dogs, no smooth dogs, no sea robins, no bluefish, no sea bass. It was a pure fluke bite. So, and it was a tough bite, and the bites weren't coming fast. So you'd be sitting there for half an hour, 40 minutes, wondering if you were going crazy, and then you'd get one. Very few fish came on the dead stick rod. I was fishing 2 rods. Those fish kind of wanted that fast twitch. I got quite a few fish on gulp, and I got a few on just squid and jigs. On my way back in, I was coming around the four buoy on the southwest corner of block. Strong incoming, and the stripers were up on the top feeding on sand eels. And I've been running mostly bass and fluke trips, and the fish are around. It's just a matter of being there when they are feeding. And if you're not, then it takes a little bit of creativity to find them. Anyway, have a good one. I'll be up with you next time. Take care.
The best fluke action I'm hearing about is still happening out around Block Island, but it's far from a guarantee. There's just bigger fish out there, and it just seems like more fish are moving in than they are in other places. The other place that's seeing a definite noticeable upward trend in fluke fishing is the waters off of South County. You're seeing, off the South County beaches, I should say, and lots of short fish in that area. There's also a lot of squid around, so that we're going to see more and more bigger fluke moving into that area just based on that squid alone. A lot of striped bass along that range as well, and some decent-sized bluefish. We're seeing all sizes of stripers from the breachways, from giants to little tiny schoolies. But overall, the action's been very good, and it doesn't matter if it's day or night. It seems to be some fish around no matter when you go. And if you want to go in the daytime, pick a day with some rain, some wind, and you're probably going to find yourself some decent-sized fish, maybe something up to around 40 inches. And that's what I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week. Crossing over into Connecticut, in the Eastern Sound, the place that's attracting the most attention from striped bass fishermen is the Race. There's been some pretty good sized fish out there over the last week, especially for the guys three-weighing eels, three-weighing bucktails. The guys that are fishing deep, doing it at night, are getting some bigger fish. Guys diamond jigging are getting all sizes, but I think they're averaging more from like 24 to 34 inches, so that's probably your best shot at getting a slot-sized fish. And then, first and last light, you are getting some topwater action. There's some bluefish mixed in, and that's probably one of your better places. Once you get outside a little bit of that heavy current, one of your better shots at getting some of the decent-sized sea bass, the closest to home if you live in Connecticut. Better sea bass fishing is being found out closer to Montauk, out in Central Sound, where you got some of those deeper ledges. But we really haven't seen that big movement of sea bass into the Sound just yet. I think that'll happen over the next couple weeks. Striped bass wise, along the shorelines, we are still getting some fish out of the Thames River. We're seeing some fish in the outer reaches of Narragansett Bay, and there's a pretty good, aggregation of various sizes of stripers around the Connecticut River as well. For a little bit more on that, we're going to toss it over now to Captain Mike Roy from Real Cast Charters.
For this week's report, I was out fishing this morning, and the striper bite is still really strong. We've been doing really well with small soft plastic lures like the sluggos and finesse fish. That's pretty common for the spring bite. The blues are starting to increase in number, so this morning we didn't get any, but some days within the past week we've had a lot of bluefish around, and we have to switch to a bucktail jig or something that could withstand the teeth of the bluefish. For bottom fishing, I hear the black sea bass fishing and porgy fishing has been off to a pretty good start. Over the next week, I'm anticipating to start seeing some bunker schools, and once the bunkers show up, I expect the big bass bite to really start to heat up. So that's all I have for you this week. Good luck.
Rowan Lytle is away on a trip this week, but I know over the past 7 days, he's been doing a lot of bowfin fishing, and he's been having pretty good success. So that's a fishery that's firing on all cylinders right now, and I know the carp fishing has still been pretty good. We'll get a full report from him next week. And now let's head out of the river and check in quickly at Black Hall Outfitters with Matt Stone. Here he is.
Definitely an upward trend towards the late spring, early summer bite right now. A lot of the stripers are on the move. They're filling into our waters pretty quickly here. We're still waiting for the heavy bunker schools to hit the Central Sound. Western Sound is getting some bunker, which is nice. As a result, we're seeing those fish kind of feeding on a lot of different things. They're eating butterfish, herring, some of them are finding bunker to eat, squid out deeper. A lot of different things are going on. So what we're thinking is that when those bunker arrive, those fish should stabilize in terms of their feeding patterns, where they are. It'll bring a lot of those bigger fish that are staging out deeper into our inshore waters, where we're typically used to seeing them by mid-June or so. But there are still lots of quality fish to catch right now. A lot of soft plastics, weightless and just lightweight. A lot of topwater plugs. Twitch baits are a great option this time of year. Tsunami has a new 5-inch twitch bait, which has been working pretty well for a lot of us. For ground fishing, it's been a really strong start. We have a lot of guys doing well in sea bass world from 70 to 100 feet. Slow pitch jigs are always a really fun, active way to catch those. Daiwa SK jigs are always a winner. And then we can do something like a bait rig for those as well. We have clams always are going to work. Squid is always going to work. A lot of different ways to go after sea bass. Generally, you're finding humps and bumps in 70 to 100 feet. For fluke, guys are doing well. No particular color is hot right now that we have heard. No particular depth as well. There usually is something by kind of midsummer. There's a color that's doing better than others. I tend to defer to pink earlier in the year because they're seeing a lot of squid out there deep. So that's a good option. But in general, just really good fishing out there. We've had some nice weather recently, which is a great change up, and we're all enjoying it. So get out there and have some fun.
We're not seeing a lot of fluke inside the sound. I have seen a couple occasional fluke coming from places like the Sand Shoal and, you know, off of some of those deeper edges on the ends of the reefs out in the Central Sound. More guys that are getting into fluke are heading out to Montauk, heading out to Peconic, or heading across to the North Shore of Long Island, where the action always tends to be better in the earlier part of the season. Expect those flatfish to move in and start to fill in more and more over the next 2 to 3 weeks. I think we'll see a much better and more consistent fluke bite in the Sound, you know, around Father's Day, something like that. And let's wrap things up in Connecticut now by checking in with Max Finch from Fisherman's World.
Hey everyone, Max here from Fisherman's World with another local fishing report. This past week I got out a bunch and there's a lot of big fish that showed up. We've seen fish to over 40 pounds locally. I had a couple myself that way broke the 40-pound mark. I've seen some 50-inch and then 50-pound class fish caught off Greenwich, you know, Stanford area. A lot of guys are dragging wire, bunker spoons, mojos, umbrellas. This past week too, they really blew up the bluefish. I mean, I saw some friggin' sonars that looked crazy. I mean, stacked, and they were all gators, like 10 to 14 pounds. The hot spots were the weather buoy down west, you know, in mid-sound. A lot of guys were catching them on umbrellas, topwater spooks when they were finning. We are having some bluefish that are starting to set up on our local reefs. I got bit off once this morning. The bass bite is fantastic. I would say from now to mid-June, this is the peak of the season. If you want your trophy bass, now is the time to get out, you know, call out of work, do whatever you got to do to get out in the water. The bunker really flooded our area this past week too, which led a lot of big fish in our area. They're starting to flood our harbors and inside the islands, which brought a lot of fish around the islands. You know, I got some really nice fish, you know, just blind casting around the island structure, rip lines, shallow water reef, stuff like that. On the fluking side, fluking on our side is so-so. I am talking to a couple guys. They are getting some fish. It's, you know, it's a grind. Across is way better. You know, I'm seeing limits. I'm seeing nice fish like 6-7 pounds, which is beautiful for us locally. It seems like bait is definitely the option right now. They're hitting that better than the gulp. Squid, spearing, Peruvian smelt. Guys are drifting really shallow. I'd say like 10 feet, and then they'll bump all the way out. You know, keep working different depths. Bucktails tipped with gulp also work this time of year, but the bait is outperforming the gulp right now. On the sea bass side, it's a little slower in our area. We haven't heard a lot, I think, because of, you know, the fantastic striper fishing we got going on. But the sea bassing I do hear is definitely on the slow side. Usually 32A this time of year is pretty good, but I haven't heard much from that area. Guys are working, in our area, they're working our deep water wrecks south of the island. So if you do want to find some knotheads, I would definitely get on top of some wrecks or 20 AC, Cape Anchor Reef, and then to our east, middle ground always holds sea bass. Porgies are starting to flood our side too. I did hear rumors are caught from the shore, so let the sandworm craze begin. Locally though, I was, we're Kakini Shoals, George's Rock area, outside Middle Passage, 28C, Celtic Wreck, Green's Ledge. Remember to always bring a clam chum to definitely help you to bring those fish to your boat. Thanks and good luck.
That's what happened to you guys in the reports this week. Hopefully it's going to inspire you to get out there. Been some really big striped bass out in the western Long Island Sound. That's like the biggest headline of the week. Bunker moved in, and it just turned things up to a whole other level, which has been great to see. And there's so many methods are working, from live and chunk bunker to the dock to the flutter spoon to trolling mojos. These fish are big, they're angry, and they're feeding well. If you're not a subscriber to The Fisherman, I highly recommend you head over to our website. That's thefisherman.com. You're going to get a full taste of what we offer. We cover all the fishing from Delaware up to Maine in every angling discipline you can think of, from surf to offshore, from paddleboard to fly. It's all covered. You're going to spend $29.95 for a year subscription. That's going to get you 12 issues, paper magazines sent to your house. You're also going to get 26 digital editions sent to your email box. And you're going to get digital access to all the back issues and both of our other editions, Long Island and New Jersey. But even if you look at the website and you're still not totally sure, at the very least, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube. Hit that little bell thing right there so you get a notification every time we post something new. I appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.